Why? Do you want to maintain the status quo? Well, let me ask you this. Do you want to maintain the status quo of our country right now? Nope. If Bertha Lewis, who, runs Acorn, if she were watching, I can guarantee you, if I said, hey, Bertha, do you want to maintain our current status? Maintain the status quo? I can guarantee you Bertha Lewis would be saying, hell no. You see, this question puts us into agreement. See the trick? It's not the same question as, do you want to be a state? This is, do you want to just be like this? No. Who's doing this? Well, in the past in Puerto Rico, statehood fails because some people do like the status quo, and it's enough to make everything else collapse. There are some who want to be a state. There are those who want to be independent. There are those who want to be independent and that do like the status quo as it is. Somebody's chair has to be removed here because there are too many choices. There's four. There's four. They need to unite people. Do you want to maintain the current status? That unites people. Not on the same answer, but on the question. See, the status quo, more likely to vote for statehood over independence. In 1998, there were 5 options on the ballot. There were limited self-government, free association, statehood, sovereignty, none of the above. Which one won? None of the above. But now the vote is going to happen in 2 stages. The first stage is, do you want to maintain the current status? Then the chair removes. The second vote happens, and they are left with 3 choices: statehood, full independence, or modified commonwealth. Remember, full independence and modified commonwealth historically get less than 3% of the vote. So those options are the only thing standing in the way of Puerto Rico becoming a state. Again, Congress will say, Glenn Beck, what are you, this is a non-binding vote. Yes, yes it is. Yes it is. But here's the part that if you don't know history, you're destined to repeat it. I want to introduce you to something called the Tennessee Plan. What's the Tennessee Plan? Well, it's probably going to sound like a conspiracy. I mean, if it doesn't already, all of this sounds like this is conspiracy theory, right? But conspiracy theories don't have one thing that I do. Don't turn the channel until I show you that one thing. Because what I'm about to show you now, through history, and then that one extra piece, is the way our entire system is now working to transform America. And possibly tomorrow. The Tennessee Plan. Okay, unless you're from Tennessee or Alaska, you probably never heard about this plan. But apparently also people who have never heard of it, the people who took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution, they haven't heard of it either. You see, when Tennessee first came to the Union, they had a different name. They weren't called Tennessee. It was called the Territory of the United States south of the River Ohio. Not real catchy. A lot to fit on a license plate. A U.S. territory, just like Puerto Rico. But instead of waiting for Congress to decide whether or not they wanted to make a territory a state, Tennessee said, you know what, we're just going to go a different way. And they forced the issues. They elected delegates for a Congress. They voted on statehood. It's the next stage. Then they applied for statehood. And then when Congress dragged their feet, they went to the Capitol and they demanded to be seated. They elected these people. They did this. And then they went to the Capitol. They skipped this one. They skipped the statehood voting and say, okay, yeah, you guys come on. They just went to the Capitol. Congress didn't know what to do. It was the first territory going for statehood. So they said, oh, okay. And that's how we had the 16th state. Alaska did the same thing, kind of. So let me restate here. They elected delegates for Congress. They voted on statehood. They drafted a state constitution. They applied for statehood, went to the Capitol, and demanded to be seated. This is the key here. It doesn't matter what happens in Congress. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They demanded, and they were seated. Congressman, any congressman who votes for this, for some reason or another, let me give them the benefit of the doubt, they're sheep being led to slaughter. You know, no, this is non-binding. What? They'll say the people of Puerto Rico have a right to vote for themselves, and yes, they do. Yes, they do. I support Puerto Rico and their sovereignty and the individual right to vote. But see, not so much, because progressives are going to present a false choice to people. Instead of saying, do you want to be a state? It's, do you want the status quo? They'll vote no. The next vote removes the status quo from the ballot, leaving statehood against two far less popular options. Statehood will vote. So, whoa. Then they'll elect their congressmen and their senators. They'll demand to be seated, and you will be sewing on a 51st star attached to the flag. Now, how could this happen? How could this happen? Well, the immigration debate. I mean, Texas is talking about maybe we should do what's happening in Arizona. And what is that going to lead to? Why is all of this happening? Because they need to cobble together a coalition. They need somebody to call racist. So, what's Texas and Arizona? Racist. Anyone who stands in opposition to Puerto Rico as a 51st state would be called a hate monger. I mean, remember that last one where it was the second to the last one where they applied? Can you imagine what would be happening in Washington? In Washington, they'd be yelling back and forth, and what would the cries be? Why do you hate Puerto Rico so much? Why do you hate Puerto Ricans? Is it because they are different than you? Is it because you hate Hispanics? Why do you hate freedom? Remember what I said at the very beginning. This isn't about freedom. It's not about Puerto Rico. It's not about anything. It's about power and control. Progressives know, and quite honestly, so do the Republicans. That's why the border has been left open. Everybody in Washington knows that if they can convince Hispanics that everybody's a racist, everybody's out to get you, only our party, whichever party it is, only our party is here to help, you will have their vote. And the Democrats have already done it with the African American vote. So, Democrats and Republicans, why are both parties for this? Back to the board. Because remember, it's about big government and power and control. Lindsey Graham is a progressive. So is Nancy Pelosi. Is there a difference? Yes, on the right and left scale of the progressive scale. But that's not the scale our founders gave us. The progressives in our country know this is the moment they've been waiting for. Every Marxist daydream they've ever had. Now is the time to get it done. They're not going to let this moment pass. What's happening is fundamental transformation of America, and it is only the beginning. I told you that this sounds like a conspiracy theory, right? This is crazy. Tomorrow they're going to do this? Well, it would be. Unless, you actually pay attention and do your homework. What the media apparently is missing while they're, I don't know, running a progressive campaign is who is orchestrating this in Puerto Rico. May I? May I show you? This is what makes it conspiracy theory to conspiracy fact. What is this? Puerto Rico. This is the logo for the New Progressive Party. New Progressive Party, 2008, their platform. From their own party platform. May I pull it out? The New Progressive Party adopts the Tennessee Plan as an additional strategy for the decolonization and the claim for the admission of Puerto Rico as the 51st state of the United States of America. And this shall be done, where is it? This shall be done to establish a process for the adoption and ratification of the Constitution of the state of Puerto Rico and the election of 2 senators and 6 federal congresspersons to appear before Congress in Washington, D.C. to claim their seats and the admission of Puerto Rico as the 51st state. It is in their party platform. You still think nobody reads that. Here is opposition advertisement that is happening now in Puerto Rico. The 2 faces of H.R. 499 that you have never heard about, and they are voting on tomorrow. The Puerto Rico statehood bill. They're saying vote no. 178 from the Progressive Party platform. That is not the pledge made to Puerto Rico. They are promoting it in Congress now as a non-binding bill. That is not the truth. Puerto Rico has already voted. They have already spoken. They can speak anytime they want. If they want to do it the right way. When they send delegates to Washington, if you stand against this, you will be labeled a racist. The progressive leadership, a former governor, told local newspapers and congressional leaders, he said, I'll have to support statehood in order to avoid being accused of bigotry against Hispanics. More in a second.